I stand where stone meets fury. The waves do not ask permission. They hurl themselves against the fortress walls as they have for centuries, relentless, patient, eternal. Salt spray touches my face like the breath of something ancient, something that remembers when these stones were first laid. The wind carries voices I cannot quite hear, words in languages I do not know. Above me, the battlements cut sharp against a sky the color of iron and pearl. How many have stood here before me? How many have watched this same horizon waiting for sails that never came, or fearing those that did? The year is 1237, and I am a stranger at the edge of the world. If you enjoy exploring forgotten places and lost centuries, make sure to subscribe. Our journey is just beginning. The road along the coast reveals itself slowly, like a secret the earth is reluctant to share. I have been walking since before dawn, when the sky was still black and the stars hung low enough to touch. The path is ancient, compressed earth and broken stone, rutted by countless cartwheels and the hooves of horses whose bones have long since turned to dust. To my left, the land falls away in jagged cliffs, and below them, the Atlantic throws itself against the rocks, with a sound like distant thunder that never quite fades. The morning light arrives not all at once, but gradually, as if even the sun must approach this place with caution. First, a pale suggestion along the eastern horizon. Then, slowly, the darkness bleeds to gray, and gray to a hesitant gold that touches the tips of the waves far out at sea. The mist that clung to the water begins to lift, and that is when I see it for the first time. The fortress. It rises from the headland like something that grew there rather than was built, as if the rock itself decided to stand upright and take shape. The walls are massive, unapologetic in their solidity, constructed from stones the color of storm clouds. Even from this distance I can make out the towers, square and sturdy, their corners worn smooth by wind and rain. Banners hang from the battlements, threadbare and faded, snapping in the constant breeze like the wings of wounded birds. I stop walking. There is something about seeing it that makes my breath catch, not from beauty exactly, but from weight, from presence. This is not a place that cares whether I exist or not. It has stood here through winters that would break men, through sieges and storms, through the slow erosion of time itself, and it will stand here long after I am gone. The path descends slightly as it approaches the fortress, winding between outcroppings of rock where tough grasses cling to existence. Gulls wheel overhead, their cries sharp and lonely. The smell of the sea is overwhelming now. Salt and kelp and something darker, something primordial that speaks of depths no light has ever reached. I am not the first to walk this road. I can feel them around me, the ghosts of travelers who came before, merchants with their loaded mules, pilgrims seeking sanctuary, soldiers marching toward battle or limping home from it. The very stones beneath my feet seem to remember the weight of their passing. As I draw closer, details emerge. The walls are not smooth but textured, each stone fitted against its neighbors with a precision that speaks of skill and patience. There are marks on some of them, the scratches left by iron tools, the darker stains where water has found its way into cracks and frozen, expanding, leaving its signature. Here and there, I can see places where the mortar has crumbled and been replaced, evidence of countless repairs across countless years. The fortress sits at the very edge of the headland, positioned so that 3 of its walls face the sea. It is a gesture of defiance, a declaration that here at least humanity will hold its ground against the chaos of the ocean. The 4th wall faces inland, toward the small village that clusters at its feet like children seeking shelter beneath a father's cloak. I can hear the village now. The sound of hammers on metal, the creak of wood, voices calling to one another in a dialect I recognize but do not fully understand. Smoke rises from chimneys, thin gray columns that the wind immediately tears apart and scatters. The sun has fully risen now, though it remains pale and distant behind a veil of high clouds. The light it casts is diffuse, shadowless, giving everything a strange flatness, as if the world were a painting rather than a place. The temperature has barely changed since before dawn. There is a chill in the air that speaks of the sea's eternal coldness, a reminder that warmth here is borrowed, temporary, always on the verge of being reclaimed by the wind. I adjust the pack on my shoulders and continue walking. My boots scrape against the stone. The sound seems too loud in this vast openness, too definite, too present. I am acutely aware of my own smallness. One man, one moment, one breath in the endless respiration of time. The path levels out as it reaches the village. Ahead, I can see the first buildings. Low structures of stone and timber with roofs of thatch or slate. Between them, narrow lanes twist and turn, following no pattern I can discern. This is a place that grew organically, shaped by need and terrain rather than plan. And above it all, patient and eternal, the fortress watches. I have arrived. The village wakes like an old man, slowly, stiffly, with a groan of reluctance. I enter through what might charitably be called a street, though it is really just a wider gap between buildings, barely broad enough for two people to pass without turning sideways. The ground is uneven, a mixture of packed earth and flat stones laid without mortar, slick in places where water has pooled during the night. On either side, the houses lean toward one another as if sharing secrets, their walls constructed from the same gray stone as the fortress above, though here the stones are smaller, less perfectly fitted, chinked with clay and moss. The first person I see is a woman. She emerges from a doorway carrying a clay pot, her movements efficient and automatic. The gestures of someone who has performed the same action every morning for so many years that thought is no longer required. She is perhaps 40, though the weather here ages people differently than elsewhere, and she could be younger. Her dress is simple, a long wool garment the color of undyed sheep, cinched at the waist with a leather cord. A shawl covers her hair, and her feet are wrapped in cloth beneath leather shoes that have been repaired so many times the original form is barely recognizable. She sees me and stops. For a moment, we simply look at one another across the small distance of the street. Her eyes are gray, like the stone, like the sea, like everything here. There is no fear in them, but there is wariness, the natural caution of someone who lives in a place where strangers are rare and not always benign. I nod to her, a small gesture of respect. She does not return the nod, but neither does she look away. After a moment that feels longer than it is, she continues on her way, disappearing around a corner where the street bends. I hear her voice speaking to someone I cannot see, the words too quick and too accented for me to catch their meaning. I have been noted. Word will spread. The smell of the village is complex. Wood smoke and fish, human waste and animal dung, the tang of salt that penetrates everything, the earthy smell of wet thatch. It is not pleasant exactly, but it is honest. This is what life smells like when it is lived without pretense, without the softening filters of wealth or distance. More people appear as I walk deeper into the village. A man emerges from a workshop, his leather apron dark with stains, carrying a fishing net draped over his shoulder. The net is heavy with repairs, sections where new cordage has been woven to replace the old, creating a patchwork of colors that tells the story of its use. He glances at me, his face expressionless, and continues toward the harbor. Two children run past, bare-legged despite the chill, chasing something I cannot see. They are shouting in that universal language of play that transcends dialect, their voices high and bright against the deeper sounds of labor. One of them stumbles on the uneven ground but catches himself and keeps running, and they both disappear between buildings before I can see more. The houses here are small, a single room in most cases, perhaps with a loft for sleeping. Through open doorways I catch glimpses of interiors, dirt floors covered with rushes, hearths where fires burn low, simple furniture made from rough-cut wood. The people who live here own very little, and what they own is functional. There is no space for decoration, no energy wasted on beauty for its own sake. Yet there is a kind of austere dignity to it all. A sound draws my attention, the rhythmic clang of metal on metal. I follow it to a small square where several streets converge, and there I find a blacksmith at work. His forge is built against the side of a stone building, its chimney venting smoke that adds to the general haze hanging over the village. The smith himself is stripped to the waist despite the cold, his skin slick with sweat. his muscles moving beneath the skin like cables as he brings his hammer down again and again on a piece of glowing iron. He is making a nail. It is such a small thing, a nail. But I watch him work and I understand that this nail and the hundreds like it he will make this week are what hold this world together. They join the timbers of boats, secure the planks of floors, fasten the hinges of doors. Without nails, everything falls apart. He does not acknowledge me, lost in the rhythm of his work. Strike, turn, the metal gradually changing shape beneath his will. When it is cooled too much, he returns it to the coals, working the bellows with his foot, and the fire roars brighter, breathing heat into the morning. I continue walking. The street, if I can call it that, slopes downward now, following the natural contour of the land toward the sea. The sound of the waves grows louder with each step, and beneath it, I begin to hear other sounds. The creak of wood, the slap of water against hulls, voices calling instructions. The harbor, it is not much. A natural cove partially protected by an outcropping of rock, with a simple stone pier extending into the water. Several boats are tied there, small fishing vessels built for the coastal waters, their hulls dark with pitch and water. Men are working on and around them, preparing for the day's voyage. They move with the confidence of long practice, barefoot on slippery decks, their hands quick and sure as they check lines and adjust sails. One of them looks up and sees me standing there. He says something to his companion and they both turn to stare. I'm clearly an outsider. My clothes are different. My pack marks me as a traveler. And perhaps most tellingly, I am standing still, watching while everyone else is in motion, engaged in the endless work of survival. The moment stretches. Then the first man raises his hand in a gesture that might be greeting or might be dismissal. It is hard to say, but it is acknowledgement at least. I exist in his world now, however briefly. I raise my hand in return and the moment breaks. They go back to their work, and I am free to be what I am. A watcher, a witness, a stranger passing through. Above us all, silent and massive, the fortress stands against the sky. I can feel its weight even here, even with my back turned to it. It is the reason this village exists, the source of whatever safety these people know. Without it, they would be scattered, vulnerable, forgotten. With it, they are at least remembered, even if only as footnotes to someone else's story. By mid-morning, the village has found its rhythm, and I have found mine within it. I wander through the narrow streets with no particular destination, simply allowing myself to be carried by the current of daily life. There is a marketplace of sorts in the small square near the blacksmith's forge, though market is perhaps too grand a word for what amounts to a few women sitting on the ground with baskets of goods spread before them on rough cloth. Fish, mostly. That is the currency here, the foundation of everything. Fresh fish silvered and still glistening, their eyes not yet clouded. Dried fish, hard as leather, that will keep through the winter. Salted fish packed in barrels, a technology of preservation that allows these people to store the sea's bounty against the lean times. One woman is selling bread, dark and dense, the kind that will fill a belly even if it offers little pleasure to the tongue. Another has eggs, each one precious, nested carefully in a basket of straw. There are turnips and onions, wrinkled and sprouting but still edible. A handful of apples, small and misshapen but probably sweet. I watch as a transaction unfolds. A fisherman's wife, I assume it is his wife, though she could be his sister or daughter, approaches the bread seller. There is no money that changes hands. Instead, there is a negotiation conducted in rapid dialect, too fast for me to follow completely, but the meaning is clear enough. Fish for bread. 2 small loaves for a string of fish. The women weigh the trade not just in quantity but in quality, in freshness, in the complex calculus of need and surplus that governs economies older than coins. The exchange is made. Both women seem satisfied, or at least neither seems dissatisfied, which may be the same thing. I purchase some bread myself, offering a small coin from my purse. The seller examines it carefully, bites it to test the metal, then accepts it with a nod. She does not smile. Smiling seems to be a luxury people here cannot afford. But there is no hostility either. I am a customer, strange but acceptable, and my money is good. The bread is still slightly warm, and I tear off a piece as I continue walking. It is heavy, with a texture like wood pulp, but it tastes of grain and earth and the honest labor of milling and baking. I chew it slowly, letting it soften in my mouth before swallowing. The village reveals itself to me in fragments. Here a woman sits in a doorway spinning wool, the spindle dancing in her hands with a grace that speaks of decades of practice. The thread she creates is uneven by any objective measure, thicker in some places, thinner in others. But it is strong, and that is what matters. She will spin all day, and tomorrow she will spin again, and the day after that, in an endless cycle that has no beginning and no end, only continuation. There a man is repairing the thatch on his roof, pulling out the rotted sections and replacing them with fresh bundles of straw. It is delicate work. The angle of each bundle must be precise so that water will run off rather than seeping through. Get it wrong and the interior will be soaked with the first heavy rain. Get it right and the roof might last another year or 2 or 5. Children are everywhere, moving through the village like schools of fish appearing and disappearing. Their play incomprehensible to adult eyes, but clearly governed by rules they all understand. They seem unbothered by the cold, by the roughness of their surroundings, by the hardness of the life they are being born into. They simply exist, fully present in each moment, in a way that adults have forgotten how to be. I come upon a man constructing a boat. The vessel is small, little more than a large rowboat, but he is building it with the care usually reserved for cathedrals. Each plank is selected for its grain, for the way it will flex and hold. Each joint is fitted with a precision that requires no measurement, because the measurement exists in his hands, in his eyes, in the accumulated knowledge of every boat he has ever seen or touched. He works in silence, save for the sound of his tools, the rasp of a plane shaving wood, the tap of a mallet driving a peg home, the whisper of sandstone smoothing a surface. He knows I am watching, but he does not acknowledge me. His entire being is focused on the work, on the transformation of tree into vessel, of forest into means of survival. I wonder how long he has been building this boat. Weeks? Months? And I wonder how long it will last once it touches water. Years if he is lucky and the sea is kind. Or perhaps only days if he is not and it is not. But he builds it anyway because what else is there to do? To surrender to the impossibility of it all would be to die before death comes. So he works, and the boat takes shape beneath his hands and hope accumulates plank by plank. The day wears on. The sun, never quite breaking through the clouds, traces its arc across the sky. The quality of light changes subtly, the pale gold of morning giving way to the flat white of midday, which will eventually soften into the gray blue of afternoon. Time here is marked not by clocks, but by these gradations of light, by the position of shadows, by the angle at which the wind strikes your face. I find myself at the edge of the village again, where the last houses give way to bare rock and the land rises sharply toward the fortress. From here I can see both worlds at once, the human scale of the village below, with its smoke and sound and small struggles, and the inhuman scale of the fortress above, with its massive silence and its indifference to the passage of individual lives. The fortress does not care that bread is being baked, that nets are being mended, that a boat is being built. It has seen all of this before, countless times, and will see it all again. The faces change, but the actions remain the same. Birth, labor, death, the eternal rhythm. Yet the fortress needs the village just as the village needs the fortress. Without the people below to provision it, to maintain it, to give it purpose, the fortress would be nothing but empty stone. And without the fortress above to protect them, to organize them, to give structure to their survival, the villagers would be scattered and vulnerable. They are locked together in a dance neither partner chose, but both must continue. A bell rings somewhere, a single clear note that carries across the village. It is noon, I suppose, though the exact hour matters less than the signal itself. Work pauses. People turn toward the sound. For a moment, The entire village seems to take a collective breath. Then the moment passes and the rhythm resumes. I stand watching as life continues its patient, relentless unfolding, and I understand that I am seeing something that is both utterly specific to this place and this time, and utterly universal. This is what it means to be human, to persist, to continue, to wake each morning and resume the work, even knowing that the work will never be finished. The sea crashes against the cliffs below. The wind pulls at the tattered banners above, and between these two infinities, the ocean and the stone, these brief lives flicker like candles, fragile and fierce and absolutely determined to burn for as long as they can. The old fisherman finds me in the afternoon, or perhaps I find him. It is difficult to say who is the hunter and who is the prey in these encounters with the past. I am sitting on a low wall at the edge of the harbor, watching the boats return from their morning voyage. The catch has been modest. A few baskets of fish, nothing extraordinary. The men who crew the boats move with the weary efficiency of those who have done hard physical labor and know that more awaits them tomorrow. They do not celebrate the catch or lament its smallness. It is what it is, and they accept it with the fatalism of those who depend on forces they cannot control. He approaches from my left, moving with the careful gait of someone whose joints no longer bend as they once did. He is ancient, 70 perhaps, or even older, which in this place and time makes him nearly mythical. Most people here do not live to see 50. That he has survived this long suggests either extraordinary luck or extraordinary toughness, and probably both. His face is a landscape of wrinkles, each line a map of a year endured, a storm survived, a winter outlasted. His eyes, though, are sharp still, pale blue like shallow water over sand, missing nothing. He sits beside me without asking permission, grunting slightly as his weight settles onto the stone. For a long moment he says nothing, simply gazing out at the sea with the expression of someone looking at an old enemy who has become, through sheer familiarity, almost a friend. Then he speaks. His voice is rough, worn smooth in places by time and salt air. The dialect is thick, almost impenetrable at first, but I listen carefully, and gradually the meaning emerges. "You are not from here," he says. "It is not a question." "No," I agree. "I am traveling." He nods as if this confirms something he already knew. "They always come," he says. "The travelers, looking for something, never finding it." He pauses, or finding it and wishing they had not. I wait. There is clearly more, and I have learned that silence is often the best invitation. He gestures toward the fortress with one gnarled hand. You wonder about it. The castle. Everyone does. They see the stone and they think they understand. But stone is only stone. It is what the stone holds that matters. "What does it hold?" I ask. His lips pull back in something that might be a smile or might be a grimace. "Ghosts," he says simply. "And gold. And secrets that should have stayed buried." I lean forward slightly, drawn by the promise of story. He sees my interest and makes a sound that might be satisfaction. "My grandfather's grandfather was here when they built it," he begins. "Back when the Christians were still driving the Moors southward. Back when every headland needed a fortress and every fortress needed blood to consecrate it." His eyes become distant, looking not at the present sea but at some interior ocean where memory swims. They say a ship came in those days. A Templar ship, fleeing from somewhere in the Holy Land. It was laden with treasures looted from the infidels, or so the story goes. Gold and silver, jewels pried from idols, holy relics wrapped in silk. The knights who commanded it were hard men, scarred from the Crusades, their souls as dark as their armor. He shifts his weight, and I hear his joints crack. They anchored in this very cove, and they made a bargain with the Lord who was building the fortress, protection for a share of the treasure. The Lord agreed. What else could he do? The knights were warriors, and he needed warriors. So the treasure came ashore, and most of it went into the Lord's coffers, but not all. "No?" I prompt gently. "No. The knights kept a portion for themselves. They were not fools after all. They knew that lords are faithless, that today's ally becomes tomorrow's enemy, so they hid it. Somewhere in the fortress, or beneath it, or in the rocks around it. They hid it, and then they died. How did they die? The old man's expression darkens. How do you think? The Lord could not allow them to live with knowledge of the treasure's location. So he invited them to a feast, plied them with wine, and when they were drunk and careless, his men fell upon them. They killed them in the great hall, everyone, and their blood stained the stones. He looks at me directly now, and there is something fierce in his gaze. But dying, the knights cursed the place. They cursed the Lord and his line. They said that the treasure would never bring prosperity, only ruin, that anyone who sought it would find only death. And did they find death? The Lord's son died before reaching manhood, thrown from a horse. The Lord himself grew mad, seeing ghosts in the corridors, hearing voices in the wind. Within a generation, the family line had ended. Others came after, of course, lords and commanders and captains, but none prospered as they should have. The fortress stands, but it stands over a wound that never heals. I absorbed this, turning it over in my mind. And the treasure? Has anyone found it? The old man shrugs. Who can say? Men have searched, some have disappeared, some have emerged with wild tales of passages beneath the stone, of chambers sealed and warded, of things that should not be disturbed. Whether they found the treasure or only found their own fears, I cannot tell you. Do you believe the story? I ask. He is silent for a moment, and when he speaks, his voice is quieter. I believe that blood calls to blood. I believe that what is taken by violence creates a debt that must be paid. I believe that the fortress stands on bones, and that bones remember. The waves crash below us. A gull cries overhead, its voice lonely in the vast openness. There is a chapel, he says finally, at the base of the fortress wall. Small, hardly worth notice. It was built by the knights as penance, or so the tale goes, before they died. There are markings there, signs. My grandfather saw them once and would not speak of what they meant. He died crossing himself and muttering prayers. He pushes himself to his feet with visible effort. If you climb to the fortress, you should visit the chapel. Perhaps you will understand what he could not. Or perhaps you will be wiser and leave it alone. He starts to shuffle away, then pauses and looks back. The past is always hungry, he says. Remember that. It feeds on the present and it is never satisfied. Then he is gone, leaving me alone on the wall with the sound of the sea and the weight of his words. I look up at the fortress, seeing it now not just as stone but as a repository of darkness, of violence done and violence remembered. The walls that seemed impressive this morning now seem ominous, shadows clinging to them even in the afternoon light. Somewhere within or beneath that structure, if the old man's story holds any truth, lies treasure bought with blood and defended with curses. Somewhere in those corridors, ghosts walk. And somewhere, hidden in plain sight, a small chapel waits with its cryptic markings and its burden of secrets. I will find it, I decide, not because I seek treasure. Gold has never called to me the way knowledge does. But because I need to see what the grandfather saw, to understand what made a man die with prayers on his lips. The afternoon is waning. Soon it will be evening, and evening here belongs to the sea and the stone. But tomorrow, I will climb. Tomorrow, I will see what the fortress holds. The ascent begins before dawn, when the world is still caught between darkness and light, when the boundary between what is real and what is dreamed has not yet been firmly re-established. I leave the village in silence, my footsteps the only sound besides the eternal conversation between wind and sea. The path that leads upward to the fortress is steep, carved into the living rock in some places, built up with carefully placed stones in others. Its switchbacks against the headland's face, gaining height gradually but relentlessly. The climb is harder than it appeared from below. My breath comes faster, misting in the cold air. My legs burn with the effort, but I push on, driven by something more than mere curiosity, a need to stand in that high place to see what centuries of watchmen have seen, to touch stone that has witnessed more history than I can imagine. As I climb, the village shrinks below me. The houses become small as toys. The people, those few who are already stirring, become mere suggestions of movement. The boats in the harbor are splinters. The world rearranges itself around me, offering new perspectives, new proportions. And the fortress grows. What seemed massive from below becomes incomprehensibly huge as I approach it. The walls rise directly from the headland's edge, extensions of the rock itself, as if the cliff decided to become architecture. Each stone in those walls is larger than a man, fitted with such precision that I cannot slide a knife blade between them in most places. How many hands shaped these stones? How many backs bent to lift them? How many lives were spent in the building? I reach the outer gate as the first real light touches the eastern sky. It is a massive thing of oak and iron, studded with rivets the size of my fist, hung on hinges that must each weigh as much as a man. It stands open. It may stand always open during peacetime, I cannot say. And I pass through it into a courtyard that feels less like a space created by humans and more like a canyon carved by gods. The fortress swallows sound. My footsteps, which echoed on the path outside, are absorbed here, deadened by the sheer mass of stone surrounding me. I can still hear the sea. Its sound penetrates everything. But it is distant now, muffled, reduced to a background murmur. I am alone here. The garrison, if there is one, has not yet risen, or perhaps they watch me from arrow slits I cannot see, deciding whether I am threat or curiosity. Either way, they do not show themselves. I walk slowly across the courtyard, my hand trailing along the wall. The stone is cold, its surface rough and pitted. In places I can see marks, scratches that might be writing in some ancient script, or might just be the random scars left by weapons or tools. Dark stains discolor some sections, and I do not let myself think too hard about what might have caused them. A stairway leads upward, carved into the wall itself, spiraling toward the battlements. I take it, my hand on the stone for balance, aware with each step of the emptiness to my right, the long fall that waits for any misstep. The stairs seem endless. They wind upward in the dimness, lit only by narrow slits that admit thin beams of growing daylight. My calves ache. My breathing is labored, but I continue, counting steps without meaning to, losing count, beginning again. And then, finally, I emerge onto the battlements. The world opens. I stand on the highest point of the fortress, where the watchtowers pierce the sky, and the walls stretch away in both directions like the spine of some enormous stone beast. Before me, in every direction, is vastness. To the west, the Atlantic extends to the horizon and beyond, an eternity of gray-green water wrinkled with waves. The morning light has turned the surface to hammered metal, bright in some places, dark in others, constantly shifting. I can see the curvature of the earth out there, the way the ocean bends away into distance. To the north and south, the coastline unfolds, a ragged edge of rock and cliff where the land makes its final stand against the sea's erosion. Headlands thrust outward like fists. Coves nestle between them like wounds. Spray rises where the waves find weakness, exploding upward in white plumes. To the east, inland, the land rises in gentle hills, covered with forest and field. A patchwork of greens and browns that speaks of cultivation and wilderness in constant negotiation. Smoke rises from scattered settlements too small and distant to be called villages. Roads, barely visible, thread through the landscape like veins beneath skin. And directly below, almost forgotten in the grandeur of the larger view, the village clings to existence, tiny and fragile and impossibly brave. I walk the length of the battlements, moving from tower to tower, seeing the fortress reveal itself in sections. Here, a courtyard I had not seen from below, with a well at its center and what might be barracks along one wall. There, a keep rising from the center of the complex, square and solid, its windows few and narrow, everywhere the evidence of military purpose. Murder holes through which defenders could pour death on attackers, machicolations projecting from the walls, crenellations providing cover while allowing clear lines of fire. This is a machine for war, I realize. Everything about it is designed for killing and surviving, for holding ground against any force that might wish to take it. There is no softness here, no concession to comfort. Beauty, if it exists at all, is accidental, a byproduct of function, not a goal in itself. I find a place where I can sit with my back against the stone and my legs dangling over the void, and I simply watch as the sun continues its rise. The light changes minute by minute, warm gold giving way to cooler white, shadows shifting and shortening, the world below slowly coming into full illumination. How many have sat in this exact spot? How many have watched this exact sunrise or one indistinguishable from it? Knights and soldiers, lords and servants, prisoners and guards. All gone now, returned to the earth or the sea, remembered if at all as names in chronicles or legends told by old men. But the fortress remains. It has outlasted them all. It will outlast me. It will outlast the village below, perhaps. It will stand until the sea, patient and relentless, finally undermines the rock on which it sits and pulls it down into darkness. And even then, fragments of it will persist, slowly tumbling in the deep currents, taking centuries to dissolve. There is something terrifying about that kind of permanence. It makes individual lives seem even more fleeting than they already are. What are my few decades against these centuries of stone? What are my thoughts, my hopes, my memories weighed against this mute endurance? And yet the stone does not think. It does not hope or fear or dream. It simply is. Whereas I, however briefly, am conscious. I experience. I witness. And in witnessing, I give meaning to what would otherwise be mere geology. Perhaps that is enough. Perhaps that is more than enough. The sun has fully risen now, and with it, the fortress begins to wake. I hear voices from below, guards changing watch, servants beginning their duties, the machinery of daily life starting to turn. I should move, should find whoever commands here and explain my presence. But for a few more moments I sit in my high place, breathing the salt air, feeling the ancient stone against my back, suspended between sea and sky in this human-made eyrie that defies both. And I understand why they built it here, why they poured so much labor into this impossible structure. Not just for military advantage, though that surely played its part, but for this feeling, this sense of standing firm against chaos, of carving meaning out of emptiness, of declaring that humans can create something that lasts, even if it lasts only for a while, even if in the end, the sea claims everything. Night falls over the fortress like a veil drawn across the face of the dying. I have remained here through the day, exploring corridors and chambers, speaking briefly with the garrison commander, a weathered man who asked few questions and offered fewer answers, and eventually finding a place to rest in one of the watchtowers. It is not comfortable. The stone floor is hard and cold, and the narrow window admits a draft that never ceases. But I have slept in worse places, and there is something fitting about spending the night here, in this monument to endurance. As the light fades, I climb once more to the battlements. The transformation is profound. The fortress, which seemed almost benign in daylight, merely old, merely stone, takes on a different character as darkness claims it. The walls become absolute, black against a sky that deepens from blue to indigo, to a darkness so complete it seems almost solid. The crenellations along the battlement edge become teeth. The towers become giants frozen in the act of rising from the earth. Below, the village lights its fires. One by one, small points of orange warmth appear, hearths and torches, candles and lanterns. They are pitifully few against the vastness of the night, but they persist, each one a small defiance, a declaration that humans still dwell here, that life continues even when the sun abandons us. The sea sounds different at night, louder somehow, as if darkness amplifies its voice. Each wave that crashes against the cliffs below resonates through the stone, a deep vibration I feel in my bones more than hear with my ears. It is like standing on the chest of some vast sleeping creature, feeling its slow respiration. The wind picks up as the temperature drops. It comes off the ocean, carrying salt and cold and the smell of distances I cannot imagine. It pulls at my cloak, seeking entry, finding gaps in my clothing that I did not know existed. I wrap myself tighter, but there is no real warmth to be had here. The fortress offers shelter from rain, but not from cold. The stone remembers winter and gives it back endlessly. Stars appear. I have never seen so many. Here, far from cities, far from any significant concentration of human activity, the sky reveals itself in its full glory. The Milky Way spills across the heavens like scattered grain, so dense with stars that individual points of light blur together into a river of luminescence. Constellations I have seen before, Orion, Cassiopeia, the Great Bear, shine with a clarity that makes them seem close enough to touch. I think of the sailors who navigate by these stars, who trust their lives to patterns of light so distant that the rays reaching my eyes now began their journey before I was born, perhaps before my grandfather was born. What faith that requires. What desperate, necessary faith. A torch flares in the courtyard below and I hear voices, guards making their rounds, checking gates, ensuring that the fortress is sealed for the night. Their words are indistinct, but the tone is familiar. Bored men performing routine duties, finding small talk to pass the time. One of them laughs at something, the sound carrying upward, strangely fragile against the immensity of stone and sea and sky. I wonder what they think about during these night watches. Do they ponder the history of this place? Do they imagine the battles fought here, the blood spilled? Or do they think only of mundane things, of meals and sleep, of lovers left in distant villages, of the warmth that waits when their watch finally ends? Probably the latter. It is the nature of humans to focus on the immediate, the personal, the tangible. Philosophy is a luxury of daylight. At night, in the cold, what matters is simple survival. The moon rises late, a waning crescent that gives little light but enough to silver the edges of things. The sea becomes textured, each wave distinct, moving in patterns I could watch for hours. The village rooftops gleam faintly. The walls of the fortress cast shadows so deep they seem like voids, absences in reality itself. I am alone up here now. The guards have completed their circuit and descended to whatever warmth they can find. I should do the same. Should seek shelter, should try to sleep. But I am held here by something I cannot name. A feeling that if I leave this place, if I turn away from this view, I will miss something essential. So I stay. Hours pass. I do not count them. Time becomes elastic, stretching and compressing in ways that have nothing to do with any clock. I exist in a state between waking and dreaming, aware of the cold but somehow beyond it, seeing the world but also seeing through it to some deeper pattern. At some point, midnight perhaps or later, I hear it. A sound. Not the wind, not the sea, not any natural thing I can identify. It comes from within the fortress itself, rising from the depths of the structure like breath from a sleeper. A low resonance, almost below the threshold of hearing, felt more than heard. It rises and falls with a rhythm that might be breathing, might be the settling of ancient stone, might be nothing at all. But I do not think it is nothing. I stand, my muscles stiff from sitting, and move along the battlement toward the keep. The sound seems to originate from there, or somewhere near it. As I walk, I pass through pools of shadow so dark I cannot see my own feet, emerging again into the faint moonlight like a diver surfacing for air. The sound continues, or perhaps it has stopped and what I hear now is only echo, or memory or imagination given voice by the strangeness of the hour. I reach a place where I can look down into the courtyard, and I see something that stops me cold. A figure, standing motionless in the center of the open space near the well. From this height and in this darkness, I cannot make out details, only a shape, human or human-like, absolutely still. I watch. The figure does not move. Minutes pass, or what feel like minutes. And still it stands there, frozen, a statue in cloth rather than stone. Then slowly, it turns. The movement is smooth, deliberate, inhuman in its precision. It rotates in place, scanning the courtyard, and then it looks up, directly at me. I cannot see its face. The distance and darkness make that impossible. But I feel its gaze, feel the weight of attention, and every instinct I possess screams at me to move, to hide, to break line of sight. But I remain frozen, pinned by that invisible regard, unable to do anything but stare back. The moment stretches. My heart hammers in my chest. My breath comes fast and shallow. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, the figure is gone. Not walking away, not moving into shadow, simply absent, as if it had never been there at all. I stand gripping the stone parapet, my knuckles white with tension, and I wonder if I saw anything at all, or if the night has simply gotten inside my head and shown me my own fears wearing borrowed shape. Below, the courtyard is empty. The moon continues its slow arc. The sea continues its patient assault on the cliffs. Everything is as it was, and yet everything has changed. I turn away from the edge and make my way carefully back to the tower where I left my pack. The stone steps feel treacherous now, each one a potential disaster. The darkness seems thicker, more oppressive, full of presences I cannot see but can sense, watching, waiting. When I finally reach the small chamber where I will spend the rest of the night, I do not light a candle. Instead, I sit with my back against the wall, facing the door, and I wait for dawn. Sleep does not come. I do not expect it to. Outside, the fortress continues its vigil, patient and pitiless, keeping secrets it has no intention of sharing. And I understand, with a clarity born of exhaustion and fear and something deeper, that the old fisherman was right. The past is hungry, and here in this place built on blood and defended by ghosts, the past is very much awake. Dawn, when it finally comes, arrives with a reluctance that mirrors my own relief. I have not slept. I have sat through the endless night, watching the door, listening to sounds that might be footsteps or might be the settling of old stone, seeing shadows move that might be nothing more than the play of moonlight through narrow windows. Every instinct told me to leave, to descend the stairs and flee back to the village, to put distance between myself and whatever dwells in this place. But I stayed, perhaps from stubbornness, perhaps from a need to understand. Perhaps from the simple recognition that running would solve nothing, that the questions raised by what I saw, or thought I saw, would follow me wherever I went. The first light seeps through the window like blood through cloth, hesitant and thin. It touches the walls, revealing the texture of stone that has stood for centuries, the cracks where time has found purchase, the stains left by water and rust, and things I prefer not to contemplate. I stand, my body protesting every movement. My joints are stiff, my muscles cramped from hours of immobility. I gather my pack and I step out into the corridor. The fortress is quiet. Whatever garrison sleeps here has not yet risen, or perhaps they are simply elsewhere, attending to duties I cannot see. I make my way through passages I half remember from yesterday's exploration, descending gradually toward ground level, toward the courtyard where I saw, or did not see, that motionless figure. And then I remember. The chapel. The old fisherman mentioned it. A small structure at the base of the fortress wall, built by the Templars as penance, marked with signs that his grandfather saw and would not speak of. I need to find it. The search takes longer than it should. The fortress is a maze of courtyards and corridors, of stairs that lead to unexpected levels, of doors that open into rooms whose purpose has been long forgotten. But I persist, working my way along the inner perimeter of the outer wall, and finally, tucked into a corner where two walls meet at an angle, I find it. The chapel is tiny, barely large enough for a dozen people standing shoulder to shoulder. It is built of the same gray stone as everything else, but there is something different about it. The stones here are smaller, more carefully fitted, and the doorway is rounded in the Romanesque style, speaking of an earlier age than the fortress itself. The door stands slightly ajar. I push it open, it moves silently on hinges that must have been oiled recently, and step inside. The interior is dim, lit only by a single narrow window high in the eastern wall. The floor is bare stone, worn smooth by centuries of feet. There is an altar at the far end, simple and unadorned, with a wooden cross mounted on the wall above it. The cross is old, the wood darkened almost to black, the arms slightly crooked as if it had been broken once and imperfectly repaired. But it is the walls that hold my attention. They are covered in carvings, not decoration, not art in any conventional sense. These are symbols, signs, marks that seem to writhe in the uncertain light. I move closer, running my fingers over the stone, feeling the grooves that have been cut into the surface with considerable effort. Some I recognize, crosses obviously, but not the simple Latin cross of common Christianity. These are more complex, crosses with equal arms, crosses enclosed in circles, crosses that seem to fold back on themselves in impossible geometries. There are also stars, pentagrams and hexagrams, enclosed in circles of text I cannot read. Other markings are less clear, spirals, labyrinths, figures that might be letters in some alphabet I do not know, or might be purely symbolic. And everywhere, winding between and around these other symbols, a serpent or dragon, its body forming a border that contains all the other markings within its coils. I am so absorbed in my examination that I do not hear him enter. Fascinating, are they not? I spin around, my hand going instinctively to the knife at my belt. He stands in the doorway, backlit by the growing daylight outside, his features initially obscured. Then he steps forward into the chapel, and I can see him clearly. He is old, perhaps as old as the fisherman, perhaps older. But where the fisherman bore his age with weariness, this man wears it like armor. He is tall, unbent despite the years, with a face that might have been carved from the same stone as the walls around us. His eyes are dark, almost black, and they regard me with an intensity that is both uncomfortable and impossible to look away from. He wears simple robes, gray wool belted with rope, the garments of a monk or hermit, but there is nothing humble in his bearing. He carries himself like a king or perhaps a priest of some ancient order that predates Christianity. "I am Brother Matthias," he says. His voice is surprisingly strong, unweakened by age. "I am the keeper of this place." "I did not know it had a keeper," I say, recovering my composure. "Few do. I do not advertise my presence, but I have been here for longer than most can remember. Long enough to see lords come and go, to watch the fortress age stone by stone." He moves to the altar, his movements deliberate and graceful. "You are the traveler, the one who arrived yesterday." It is not a question, but I answer anyway. "Yes." "And you saw something last night in the courtyard." My heart skips. "How do you know?" "Because they always appear to those who are sensitive to such things. The fortress knows who can see and who cannot. It tests visitors. Most fail the test without ever knowing they were tested. But you..." He looks at me directly now, and I feel that gaze like a physical weight. "You saw, and you stayed. That shows either courage or foolishness." "Perhaps both," I admit. He smiles faintly. "Perhaps. Come, let me show you what you have found." He moves to the wall, to a section where the carvings are particularly dense. These marks were made by the Knights Templar, as you may have guessed, but they were not made as decoration or even as devotion in the conventional sense. They were made as warning, as seal, as ward. Against what? Against what sleeps beneath. He traces one of the spirals with a finger, following its path inward toward the center. The fortress was not built on bare rock, you see. It was built on older foundations, much older. There was a temple here once before the Romans, before even the Carthaginians, a place sacred to gods whose names are no longer spoken. I feel a chill that has nothing to do with the temperature. When the Templars came, they recognized what this place was. They understood that some ground is not neutral, that certain locations accumulate power or darkness over centuries. They tried to contain it, to seal it. These symbols are not prayers. They are chains. Chains for what? He turns to face me fully. For the memory of violence, for the accumulated weight of every death that has occurred here, for the rage of those who died unjustly and the guilt of those who killed them. Call it what you will, ghost, spirit, psychic residue. The name matters less than the reality. And the Templars? The treasure? There was treasure, Brother Matthias confirms. Gold and relics, yes. But the true treasure they brought was knowledge. Knowledge of how to bind what cannot be killed, how to contain what cannot be destroyed. They gave their lives for it, not murdered by a treacherous lord as the story goes, but sacrificed willingly. Their blood poured out to strengthen the seals. He gestures to the altar. This chapel sits directly above the focal point, the center of the spiral, the place where all the accumulated darkness concentrates. As long as the seals hold, as long as the symbols remain intact, it stays contained. But symbols erode, stone crumbles, and there are always those who in ignorance or ambition seek to break what should remain sealed. I think of the figure I saw in the courtyard. What happens if the seals fail? Nothing dramatic. No demons rise, no armies of the dead march. But the fortress becomes uninhabitable. The darkness leaks out gradually, poisoning those who dwell here, driving them to madness or violence or despair. The garrison becomes cruel. The lords become tyrants. The very stones seem to weep with misery. He pauses. It has happened before. 3 times in the century since the Templars did their work, the seals have weakened enough that intervention was required. 3 times, men like me have come to renew them. I am the latest, perhaps the last. Why the last? Because I am old, and I know of no one to take my place when I am gone. The knowledge is dying with my generation. Soon there will be no one left who understands what these symbols mean, much less how to maintain them. We stand in silence for a moment, the weight of his words settling over us like dust. What you saw last night, he says finally, was a manifestation, a testing of the boundaries. The seals are weakening again. Not critically, not yet, but enough that the sensitive can perceive what usually remains hidden. Can you strengthen them? I can, I will, but it requires time and preparation, and sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? He looks at me steadily. Nothing you need concern yourself with, but know this. Every seal requires something given freely. Blood or breath, time or strength. Nothing worth binding comes without cost. I absorb this, turning it over in my mind. Part of me wants to dismiss it all as superstition, as the ravings of an old man who has spent too long alone with his obsessions. But another part, the part that saw the figure in the courtyard that felt the fortress wake around me in the darkness, knows that he speaks truth. Why tell me this? I ask. Because you will leave here and travel to other places. You will see other fortresses, other ancient sites, and some of them will be like this one, built on ground that remembers, sealed against forces that never truly die. I tell you so that you will recognize such places, so that you will treat them with the respect they deserve, so that you will understand that not all ruins should be excavated, not all mysteries solved, not all doors opened. He moves toward the doorway, then pauses and looks back. The fortress will stand as long as the seals hold. When they finally fail, when there is no one left to maintain them, it will fall. Not to siege or storm, but to its own accumulated weight of sorrow. The stones will weep themselves apart and the sea will claim what remains. And until then it stands. A monument to human will and human folly, to the things we build and the things we cannot escape. A reminder that some battles are never truly won, only postponed. He steps out into the morning light and I follow. The courtyard is peaceful in the daylight. Birds call from the battlements. The sky is pale blue, washed clean by the night. It is difficult to reconcile this ordinary morning with the darkness I experienced, the figure I saw, the revelations I have just heard. But Brother Matthias seems unconcerned. He has lived with these truths for so long that they no longer disturb him. Will you stay? He asks. No, I will leave today. He nods as if this is what he expected. Then go with care, and remember what you have learned here. He turns and walks away, moving toward a section of the fortress I have not yet explored, his robes whispering against the stone. I stand alone in the courtyard as the sun rises higher, warming the ancient walls, bringing the fortress fully into the light of day. And I understand that I have been given a gift, not treasure in any conventional sense, but knowledge, understanding, a glimpse behind the veil that usually separates the living world from the accumulated weight of the dead. It is a gift I did not ask for and am not certain I wanted, but it is mine now to carry with me wherever I go. I leave at midday, when the sun is at its highest and the shadows are shortest, as if daylight can somehow make the parting easier. It cannot. The descent from the fortress is slower than the climb, my legs uncertain, my mind still tangled in the revelations of the morning. I pause several times on the switchback path, turning to look back at the massive structure that has dominated my last 2 days. From this angle, in full sunlight, it seems almost benign. The stone glows faintly golden where the sun strikes it directly. The banners that hang from the battlements flutter cheerfully in the sea breeze. Smoke rises from chimneys in the village below, carrying the smell of cooking fires and daily life. It looks like any other medieval fortress. Old, impressive, but ultimately just a collection of stone and mortar built for a practical purpose. But I know better now. I know what lies beneath those stones. I know what the walls contain, what the symbols in the chapel bind. I know that appearances are the thinnest of veils, and that beneath the surface of the ordinary world, older and darker things persist. The knowledge sits heavy in my chest, a weight that has nothing to do with the physical exertion of the descent. By the time I reach the village, the day's rhythm is well established. The fishermen have returned from their morning voyage. Women are preparing the midday meal. Children play in the narrow streets, their voices high and bright. Everything is exactly as it was when I arrived, and exactly as it will be tomorrow and the day after, in an endless cycle that has continued for generations. I walk through the village slowly, taking my time, trying to imprint details in my memory. The way the light falls on the stone houses, the particular shade of gray the thatch turns when it is old and weathered, the sound of the blacksmith's hammer, patient and rhythmic, shaping metal to human will. A few people nod to me as I pass. Most ignore me. I am already fading from their awareness, becoming just another traveler, indistinguishable from all the others who have passed through and will pass through in the years to come. Only the old fisherman acknowledges me with more than a glance. I find him sitting on the same wall where we spoke before, mending a net with quick, practiced movements. He looks up as I approach, and something in his expression tells me he knows where I have been, what I have seen. "You found the chapel," he says. It is not a question. "I did." "And the keeper?" "Yes." He nods slowly, his hands never stopping their work. "Then you know more than most, more than is comfortable, I'd wager." "More than I wanted," I admit. He makes a sound that might be sympathy or might be grim satisfaction. That is the price of curiosity. We ask questions and sometimes we get answers we cannot unhear. We sit in silence for a moment, watching the sea. "Will you tell others?" he asks finally. "About what you learned?" I consider this. Would they believe me? No, probably not. But that is not what I asked. "I do not know," I say honestly. "Perhaps, if I find those who seem ready to hear it. But I will not shout it from rooftops. Some knowledge is meant to be passed quietly, from hand to hand, like a flame in darkness." He seems satisfied with this answer. "The fortress will stand a while longer, perhaps long enough, perhaps not. Either way, it is out of our hands. Brother Matthias said he might be the last keeper." The fisherman's expression darkens slightly. "Aye, and when he is gone, who knows what will follow? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps the seals will hold without him. Or perhaps—" He does not finish the thought. I stand, adjusting my pack on my shoulders. I should go. I have many miles yet to travel before dark. He sets down his net and stands as well, joints creaking audibly. He extends his hand and I take it. His grip is still strong despite his age, his palm calloused from decades of rope and net. Travel safe, he says. And if you remember us at all, remember this. We endure. The sea tries to claim us. The stone tries to crush us. The past tries to consume us. But we are still here. We wake each morning and we continue. That is our victory, small as it may seem. I will remember, I promise. He releases my hand and returns to his net, already dismissing me, his attention shifting back to the immediate, the practical, the now. I turn and walk toward the road that will carry me away from this place. The path follows the coast for a while before turning inland, and for that stretch I can still see the fortress behind me, growing smaller with each step, but never quite disappearing. It sits on its headland like a patient sentinel, watching the road, watching the sea, watching the slow passage of time with the same indifference it has shown for centuries. The village shrinks and fades, becoming a smudge of smoke and stone, then nothing more than a suggestion, then finally just a memory. But the fortress remains visible longer. Its towers mark the horizon even when everything else has been swallowed by distance. It is only when the road finally dips into a valley and the hills rise between us that I lose sight of it completely. I stop then, at the crest of a hill where I can look back one last time. The headland is there, a dark shape against the bright sea, but the fortress itself is gone, hidden by the curve of the earth or the limitations of my vision. It has returned to the realm of memory, to the place where all experiences go when they are finished. I think of Brother Matthias in his chapel, renewing seals that hold back darkness. I think of the fisherman with his net, repeating the same tasks his grandfather performed and his grandson will perform. I think of the garrison soldiers keeping watch through long nights, protecting a place whose true danger they do not comprehend. I think of the stones themselves, holding their secrets, bearing their weight, standing against the assault of time and sea and all the forces that seek to reduce everything to rubble. And I think of myself, a traveler who spent 2 days in a place I will likely never see again, learning things I can never fully explain to those who were not there. What do I take with me from this encounter? Not gold, not relics, not anything that can be measured or weighed. But something has changed in me. Some understanding has been reached, some barrier crossed. I have stood on ground where the past is not past but present, where the dead are not gone but lingering, where the walls between what we call real and what we call legend are thinner than we imagine. The world is larger than I thought, and older, and stranger, and I am smaller in it than I believed, but also more connected. I am part of a vast continuity, a thread in a tapestry that extends backward into time beyond my knowing and forward into futures I will never see. The fortress will stand or fall according to laws I do not fully understand. The village will persist or perish. Brother Matthias will die, and perhaps his knowledge will die with him, or perhaps some new keeper will emerge when the need becomes dire. None of it depends on me, and yet I was there. I witnessed. I carried away this understanding that I am now attempting to put into words, knowing the words will never be adequate. Perhaps that is enough. Perhaps bearing witness is always enough. The sun is past its zenith now, beginning the long slide toward evening. I have miles to go and the road ahead is uncertain. There will be other villages, other fortresses, other encounters with the layered complexity of this ancient land. But none of them, I think, will touch me quite as deeply as this one. I adjust my pack one final time, turn my face toward the road ahead, and walk on. Behind me, invisible but inescapable, the fortress keeps its vigil. The sea continues its patient assault, and time moves forward, carrying us all toward whatever end awaits. 3 days have passed since I left the fortress by the sea. I'm far inland now, walking roads that wind through forests and fields, through lands where the salt smell is only a memory, and the sound of waves exists only in dreams. The villages I pass are different here, larger, more prosperous, built around markets and churches rather than fortresses and fear. But I cannot stop thinking about that place. At night, when I lie down to sleep in tavern rooms or beneath hedgerows, I see the battlements silhouetted against the stars. I hear the crash of surf against ancient cliffs. I feel the weight of those gray stones pressing down, down, down into earth that remembers things best forgotten. What is it about that fortress that has lodged itself so deeply in my mind? Perhaps it is the way it embodies a truth we spend most of our lives avoiding, that we are temporary, but our actions echo, that we build in stone hoping to defeat time, knowing that time always wins in the end, that the past is not behind us but beneath us, supporting everything we think of as present, shaping us in ways we rarely acknowledge. Or perhaps it is simpler than that. Perhaps it is just that I saw something true there, something essential. Beneath all the layers of story and symbol, beneath the legends of Templars and treasure, beneath even Brother Matthias's talk of seals and darkness, there was a fundamental reality. Humans have stood on that headland for longer than we can remember, looking out at the same ocean, asking the same questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What will remain when we are gone? The fortress is one answer to those questions. It says, we are builders. We are here to create. What remains is what we make with our hands and will and stubborn refusal to accept that the sea will have the final word. It is not the only answer. Perhaps it is not even a good answer, but it is an honest one. I think of the villagers waking each morning to the smell of salt and the sound of waves. They do not philosophize about meaning or purpose. They simply live. They mend nets and bake bread and raise children and grow old, all under the shadow of those massive walls that promise protection, but cannot guarantee it. Their lives are small by any grand measure. They will never be written about in chronicles. Their names will not be remembered beyond a generation or two. Most of what they do, the 1,000 small acts of maintenance and survival, will vanish as if it never happened. And yet, they are the foundation of everything. Those small lives, those unremarkable daily rhythms, are what give meaning to the fortress itself. Without them, it would be just stone, impressive perhaps, but empty. It is the human presence that transforms architecture into habitation, that turns mere walls into home. The same is true everywhere, I suppose. The grand and the small, the permanent and the ephemeral, the remembered and the forgotten. They are all part of the same continuous whole. You cannot have one without the other. I am walking through a forest now and the light is fading. Soon I will need to find a place to stop for the night. But for now, I simply walk, listening to the sound of my boots on the packed earth, watching the way the light filters through the canopy above, aware of each breath and each step in a way that I was not before I visited that place. The fortress taught me to pay attention, to see the layers, to understand that what appears solid is actually held together by will and maintenance and the accumulated labor of countless hands across countless years. Nothing lasts forever, not stone, not seals, not the knowledge of how to renew them, but things last long enough for the next generation to take up the work, long enough for meaning to be passed hand to hand, like Brother Matthias's flame in darkness. The fortress will stand a while longer, maybe decades, maybe centuries, and when it finally falls, when the sea at last claims what it has been patiently eroding since the first stone was laid, it will fall not because it was poorly built, but because all things fall eventually. That is not defeat. It is simply the nature of existence. We build knowing we build on sand. We love knowing we will lose. We light fires knowing the darkness will return. And we do it anyway. That is the real revelation, not the symbols in the chapel or the figure in the courtyard or any of the mysteries that can be named and explained. The real revelation is simply this: life persists not in spite of its fragility, but because of it. We matter precisely because we are temporary. Our actions have weight precisely because they will end. The fortress stands on the edge of the world, facing the eternal ocean with walls that will not last, and in that refusal to acknowledge the inevitability of its own destruction, in that stubborn insistence on standing firm for just one more year, one more season, one more day, it becomes something more than stone. It becomes a declaration. It becomes hope. I will carry that with me. When I am old, if I am fortunate enough to grow old, I will remember the fortress by the sea. I will remember the sound of waves against cliffs and the smell of salt in the cold air. I will remember Brother Matthias and the old fisherman and the blacksmith shaping metal, and the woman with the clay pot who was the first to see me. I will remember all of it not because it was extraordinary, though parts of it were, but because it was true. And truth, once witnessed, becomes part of you. It changes the shape of your understanding. It shows you that the world is deeper and stranger and more beautiful than you imagined, even in its darkness. Especially in its darkness. The light is almost gone now. I need to find shelter. But I walk a little farther, reluctant to let this day end, wanting to hold on to this moment of clarity a little longer. Above me, the first stars appear, the same stars that shine on the fortress, on the village, on the restless sea. The same stars the Templars saw, and the Romans before them, and whoever built the first temple on that sacred ground long before history began to write itself down. We are all connected by these stars, by this earth, by the simple fact of our existence in this unlikely universe. The fortress understands this. It stands as witness to the continuity, the great chain of being that links us all across time and space. As long as it stands, some part of that understanding remains accessible, carved into stone for those willing to climb and see. And when it falls, the understanding will not be lost. It will simply move, taking new forms, finding new expressions. Because that is what humans do. We build. We remember. We pass on what we have learned. The fortress is not unique. There are others like it, scattered along this coast, and others, each with its own stories, its own secrets, its own weight of accumulated years. I will visit some of them in my travels. I will stand on their walls and look out at their horizons and listen to what they have to tell me. But none will be the first. This one, this fortress by the sea in the year 1237, will always be the first. The one that opened my eyes. The one that taught me to see. I have found what I was looking for, though I did not know I was looking for it until I found it. Not treasure, not adventure, not even knowledge in the conventional sense, but understanding, connection. A place in the long chain of witnesses who have looked at the world and tried to make sense of it, who have stood at the boundary between land and sea, between past and present, between the solid and the dissolving, and felt something shift inside them. The road ahead is dark now. I can barely see where I'm placing my feet. But I walk on, trusting the path to lead me somewhere, trusting that wherever I go, I carry with me what I learned on that wind-swept headland. The fortress stands, the waves crash, the seals hold for now, and I, one traveler among countless others, continue my journey through this strange and ancient world, changed by what I witnessed, carrying it forward into whatever future awaits. That is enough. That has to be enough. The stars shine on, the earth turns, and somewhere behind me, invisible in the darkness, a fortress keeps watch over the restless sea, standing as it has stood for centuries, as it will stand for a while longer, a monument to endurance, a testament to will, a reminder that even in the face of certain defeat, we build, and we hope, and we stand, for as long as we can. If this journey moved you, don't forget to subscribe and join me on the next voyage through forgotten worlds.